Good morning, I hope you're having an absolutely fantastic day. Now, Reel 1 from Owl City's upcoming album Cinematic was released but a few hours ago, so I thought that today I would do a little review on that. Now, the first thing to say is these songs have literally only just come out, and my reaction to them is still very much on a sort of first impression basis. I've listened to all of the songs several times in both a casual and an analytical way, but one of the things that's really beautiful to me about music is how our appreciation for it changes over time. So despite the multiple listens, these are still very much my first impressions of the songs, and my views and thoughts on them may change with time. We all know how songs and albums that we don't like upon first listen can become our favourites the more we listen to them and as more time passes. And we also, I'm sure, are all familiar with songs that we initially think are brilliant and listen to loads, but very, very quickly become kind of stale and boring to us. So this is how I feel right now about the songs on Reel 1. I'm ignoring the artwork for this as well as all of the cinematic releases because, quite frankly, they don't bear talking about. So track number 1, Fiji Water. I think this is a really, really good choice of song to open his album with. I feel like it's sort of his response to the hordes of people screaming at him relentlessly to make something that sounds like Ocean Eyes again, which quite frankly by this point even I'm sick of hearing. Like, just give the guy a break. I'm sure he doesn't want to write the same style of music over and over again. That would become tedious and incredibly boring. So I think it's completely fair, both from a creative perspective and also just from a age perspective, that he doesn't want to make the same music now that he did when he was 22. But that being said, I love that this track is on there and it is similar to that sort of style. This song is obviously about him signing a record label for the first time and kind of introducing Owl City to a commercial audience in the late noughties. I love the melding between some of the classic Owl City sounds as well as some new ones. There are a couple of synths mixed in there that I don't feel like I've ever heard him use on tracks before, and it's really refreshing. The synth after the first time he sings There's No Such Thing as Luck is one that springs to mind, as well as the kind of the main one that comes in after the chorus. I just think it's really nice because it's very much in tune with that sound, but it's also something new and different, because occasionally I feel a bit bored of hearing the same recycled sounds over again, and it's just really, really refreshing. The lyrics are really good. They're quirky and interesting, but they're not overly ambiguous and dreamy in the way that they have been in the past, which can be difficult for some people to interpret. I smiled an unreasonable amount when he sang the line, "I'm an oddity and it's alright." The chorus is really, really strong. Like, in general, it's just a charming song. It's upbeat and energetic and kind of throws you straight back into those classic Owl City sounds that so many of us initially fell in love with, while still being interesting and new. Also, at the 4 minutes and 3 second mark, there's a really cheeky little synth diddle, which is very similar in both sound and melody to the one that he uses right at the end of Meteor Shower, if any of you picked up on that. Now, the second track on here, 5th of July, this is about Adam Young's birth, which I've got to give him credit, is a relatively original lyrical concept to write about. Although if this album ends up being in chronological order, it would surely make a lot more sense to have that song at the beginning rather than as the second track, but I don't know, whatever. There's an absolutely stunning vocal melody that opens the song. It's really dreamy with relatively complex and organic instrumentation behind it. There are a lot of orchestral samples used here. Whereas Fiji Water reminded me of Ocean Eyes, this one reminds me more of All Things Bright and Beautiful. I also really like the little samples that you can hear faintly in the background of people laughing and talking. I'm assuming those are actual recordings he's made of the people he's singing about. I think the song is lovely. My only sort of gripe with it is that I feel it doesn't really have a chorus. It's got this melody and chord progression that sort of repeats throughout the whole song, but I never felt like there was a moment of this is the chorus. After he sings the line on the 4th or 5th of July, that's kind of the moment that it feels like there should be a chorus, but it just goes back to that repeated vocal melody at the beginning, which is fine, but I felt like I wanted that female vocal to be way more present in those moments. It's absolutely lovely, and I think the song is good. I just thought that the most gorgeous part of it was right at the very end, when that melody came back and you could really hear this vocal, and the strings were playing underneath it kind of fading away, and I thought that if that was as present in these more pivotal moments during the song, it would have had a really, really big impact. But overall, I think the song is really nice and it's really lovely. And finally, track 3, All My Friends. We don't talk about that song. For fuck's sake, why couldn't he have just removed that song and released Montana in its place? All in all, I'm pretty happy with this release. The diversity between the two songs is great, but they both still retain that atmosphere that I think we were all hoping for. Neither of them blew me away where I was just in awe of the songs, but they both made me smile a significant amount. And I'm now much more excited for the rest of the music. I just wish I didn't have to wait so bloody long for it. Great work, Adam. Keep it up. Proud of you. Also, you know that thing I was mentioning earlier about the synth in Fiji Water being very similar to the one in Meteor Shower? Well, I'm going to show you something as a sort of little Easter egg for people who've managed to get this far through one of my silly videos. That synth itself is a relatively simple sine wave based sound as far as I can tell, but I'm really, really fascinated whenever I hear artists using presets in music production software. Now, there are various different music production softwares you can use, but I know that when he was making albums like Ocean Eyes and Maybe I'm Dreaming, Adam Young's primary DAW was Reason, which I have here on my my computer. Now, for any Adam Young nerds out there, I'm sure you'll be aware of a song he released called Pond Skater under the Port Blue alias. Easily one of my favorite ever Port Blue songs, but the second half of it has got this really prominent synth lead. And if you're interested in creating that exact sound, then you can do it with a few clicks in Reason. Just go to your browser, Factory Sounds, Combinator Patches, Synth Lead, and it's this one here, Juicer 2. That is the exact synth that he used to create the second half of that song. And if you don't believe me, just listen. It's literally just that synth. I've been using Reason for years now, and I can remember when I first discovered that, I was like 17, 18 years old in like the height of my Owl City fandom, and it like blew my mind that I realized I just had the exact same sound that he'd used on one of my favorite Port Blue tracks. So there's that, but yesterday I found something else out, and for any of you who are fans of the 1975, as I am, this might be quite interesting for you. So if you are a fan, I'm sure you're more than aware of their song Somebody Else, which is absolutely incredible and brilliant, and I love it. I think it's great. But the intro to that song starts off with this weird vocal thing going on, which I always assumed was some manipulation of Matty's vocals. Turns out they were using a very simple preset. I've got to use Logic for this, but if you open an instance of Battery, which is a drum sampler that you get with Native Instruments, which is fucking brilliant. Now you've got this nice list here of all of the different kits you can use, but if you scroll all the way down to the bottom pretty much, you go to S, you find this lovely thing called Synth Gaze Kit, okay? So drag that in there, and this patch here, Vox Synth Gaze, is what they used to create the sound at the beginning of the 1975 Somebody Else. I'll play it for you. Now the cynics out there may well be saying that that's not exactly the same, it's not even in the same key, and that's a very simple fix. Just go into Editor, go to Tune, and pitch it down 2 semitones, and now it sounds like this. And the intro to Somebody Else sounds like this. I hope I don't get a copyright strike for playing that. Pretty crazy, right? Like, I was literally just playing around with drum samples the other day trying to see if I could find anything interesting, and I stumbled across that and I was like, that sounds familiar. I'm not like making a criticism, by the way. I'm not one of these audio purists that believes that everyone should make all of their own sounds. It's just quite surprising that such a huge band like the 1975 would like put so little effort into masking the fact that they just used this like preset. But that's fine. I mean, if you own the library to it, you are totally licensed to use that in any kind of commercial release. The only problem is that if I made a track now and used that as the intro pad, everyone would think I was ripping off the 1975. Anyway, that's irrelevant to this review. Like I said, I think these are some really strong songs, dreamy, nice and atmospheric, and they've got me excited for the music that's yet to come. Let me know what you think. I would love to hear your thoughts and opinions on these songs and how you reacted to them. Maybe you agree with me, maybe you massively disagree with some of the things I've said. Just let me know all of that down in the comment section below. Thank you so much for watching. I really do hope you've enjoyed this. Have an absolutely fantastic day, and I will see you very soon.